Welcome back, everyone. This is Brian, licensed massage therapist at Rasa Spa in Ithaca, New York. Today we're going to be talking about self-care techniques for the wrists and forearms. We're not going to need any tools or extra implements today. We're just going to be using our hands. And this is a great video for those of us who work office jobs, desk jobs, folks who use their hands all the time. Those areas need a lot of attention that they're not probably getting. So the first area we're going to work on, we're going to do a little bit of self-massage on the muscles that live in the forearm here. We're going to work on the extensor muscles on this aspect of the arm, and we're going to work on the flexor muscles on this aspect of the arm. So I'm just going to take a little bit of massage cream to create some slickness on the area, just enough so that my opposite hand that I'm going to be working with can slide along the skin easily and isn't creating any drag. You can use just any lotion you have at home. You can use coconut oil, you can use shea butter, pretty much whatever you have that can create just a little bit of slickness. So I'm going to find an elevated surface. I'm using my massage table right here, planting my arm along the top of the massage table and starting at the wrist, pressing the palm of my hand into the forearm and just working slowly up until I get to the elbow. And then changing my angle. As you can see, I'm kind of coming back toward my body now, doing the same thing. And in order to create a little bit more pressure, I'm going to use my knuckles. Just because they're a little bit harder, they can, and a little bit denser, they can put a little bit more pressure through the muscles that are in that area. And also what I like to do is, as I'm creating pressure, I like to use a little bit of range of motion. You may have seen me use that technique if you've watched any of our previous videos. Basically what we're doing by creating range of motion is we're moving the muscles around underneath the pressure, and it just gives a little bit of a different stimulus. It can free up a little bit of mobility that just putting the pressure on might not be able to. As you can see, taking a different area of my knuckles and just running back and forth across it just feels really nice. Then changing the angle here, placing this bone of the forearm on here, otherwise known as the ulna, and working on this aspect, the radial aspect of the forearm. The big muscle in this area that we're working on is called brachioradialis. It lives right here. Again, just putting the palm of my hand in just above the wrist and working all the way up to the elbow. And range of motion here would be kind of back and forth with the wrist like that, and then shaking it, kind of rotating that radius back and forth underneath the pressure of my hand. And finally, working on the flexor side. As you can see, I'm kind of doing like a half standing. It's just a little bit easier with the positioning in order to get on this aspect of the forearm. And same exact concept, working from the wrist all the way up to the inner elbow, and then I'm kind of rocking my knuckles back and forth across the muscles that are at the inner elbow. Just being careful doing that. If you notice anything that feels like a shooting nerve sensation, just release the pressure and find a different angle. Not wanting to do anything that's going to damage anything in that area. All right. Then after you've done a little bit of massage work on the area, as we've done in previous videos, nice to follow up with a stretch. And we're going to do some stretches specifically for the fingers, but you're going to feel it all the way up into the forearm as well. First, taking the wrist, putting it down this way, I'm going to grab onto my first finger, or I guess my pointer finger or my index finger, and just pulling it back toward my body like this. changing, doing that on the middle finger, on the ring finger, and the pinky finger. I'm going to do it on the thumb as well. The setup for the thumb is a little bit different. I'm going to make kind of like a gooseneck position with my arm here. I'm going to grab onto the thumb like this, and I'm sort of more pulling it down and away from my body like that, just creating a nice stretch across here. As with any stretches, being mindful of how it's making you feel elsewhere in your body. In this particular aspect, sometimes it can pinch this aspect of the wrist here. So if you're feeling any of that pinching happening through there, just release, find a different angle, or maybe skip it altogether. Maybe that stretch isn't for you. Then working the opposite motion, taking and reversing my hands so that my fingers are downward, and doing the same thing, starting with the index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and I'm going fast through these just so that I can make sure I fit them all in, but I would recommend at least 15 seconds for each finger. You can go up to 30 seconds if that feels good for you, especially if you've had a long day typing or things like that. And then I like to switch my hand back around when I'm doing the thumb, and again, just pulling that back toward me. All right, and the last stretch, range of motion that we're going to be talking about for the hands, wrist, and forearms is, I call them elbow pit rotations. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to plant your hands flat on a surface like this. Again, a desk works really great for this. And keeping your hands still, you're going to rotate your elbow pits inward, and then outward, and then inward, and then outward. And this for me is great to stretch out the inner aspect of the elbow right here. These flexors that we were talking about earlier that we were working on. And even though you're seeing this rotation happen at the elbow, it's actually originating at the shoulder. It just looks like it's happening at the elbow, and it feels like it's happening at the elbow because your palm is planted on a surface. So if I was doing this motion without that, you'd see my whole arm move, and that is coming from the shoulder. So if you're having a difficult time recreating that motion, think about the motion coming from the shoulder, and again, facing the elbow pit inward, and then back towards yourself. Or I guess, forward, and then backward. And then you can also place your hands the other way and do the same thing, and you're getting a little bit more of a stretch on the back side of your wrist, the extensor side of the wrist. I really recommend starting off, if you're going to do that one, on a surface that has a little bit of give to it. My massage table has a little bit of padding to it, so it feels really comfortable for me to place the back of my hand and wrist on here. If you're going to do it on floor, just start slow, because the surface is so hard, sometimes it can be a little bit uncomfortable for the back of the hand and wrist. So just be mindful of that as you're giving that a shot. That's it for today, techniques for the hand, wrist, and forearm. Remember to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram at Rasa Spa, and join us again next week. We're going to have a little bit of a different type of a video next week, not necessarily dependent on body part, just a few advanced stretching techniques that didn't fit neatly into any of these other videos, but that could really benefit some folks that might have a difficult time getting enough of a stretch in certain areas. So make sure to join us again for that next week. Thanks again for watching this video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.